Hello, everybody. I just watched The Watchmen, the first episode of the new HBO series, and this is my opinion. If you're new to the channel, I'm planning to do a report slash review slash my opinion every week after every episode is out. So if you're interested in Watchmen reviews, you can subscribe to the channel. The new Watchmen is either the most subtle satire of 2019 or, in my opinion, the most tone-deaf attempt to cash in American politics from 2017. The series is set 33 years after the comic book, and it's made very clear that this is the comic book continuity, because there was an interdimensional squid attack in New York, I guess, unlike the movie from 10 years ago, which went about a terrorist bombing, and it is set in Oklahoma. Actually, the episode starts with the 1921 Tulsa riots, and we have a family of black people trying to escape the mob. And I have to say that the cinematography is great, the direction is amazing, the production values are as high as one would expect from an HBO show, the acting is good. Yes, the episode overall looks and feels great, but the writing is all over the place. And early minute. I mean, after the riot, we have transitioned to the present, to 2019, in the alternative history world of the Watchmen. And we have a redneck who is stopped by a police officer. The police officer is both black and he wears a mask. And as he is checking for his driver's license, he notices that he has a Rorschach mask. And so he goes back to the police car and asks for permission to use his gun. So yes, we have a world where the police have to wear masks because it's dangerous for them, because criminals and terrorists follow them at their homes and kill them, I guess. There is some mention to an event called the White Night, I think, when, I don't know, probably police officers were murdered by extremists. We'll see it later on. And so it's very dangerous for police officers. They have to wear masks. They even have people dressed up as vigilantes, even though vigilantes are against the law. But still, police officers have to follow procedures to get access to weaponry in a country where everyone and his mother or her mother can own a gun. That makes so much sense, I guess. This is a huge plot hole, and I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a police officer there. I wouldn't ask for a mask, I would ask for body armor. Full body armor, like riot gear, equipment, and I don't know, maybe I wouldn't do the job because it's insane, makes no sense. But then again, Robert Redford is the president of the US, and there is something called refordations, and I think that's economic privilege to minorities, and some people are very pissed about this, especially white people, like the 7th Cavalry. They are Rorschach followers, they are considered white supremacists, and from what we can see in their propaganda, they probably are the villains of this series. I mean, the way they act is very villain-like. They're like Marvel's Hydra or something. And the main character, the protagonist, is a retired police officer. She's a black woman. And occasionally, when the duty calls, she wears a ninja outfit because she's secretly a police officer. The Watchman cannot be watched, I guess. So she learns about the shot officer, because the officer in the beginning was shot. Of course he was! What do you expect? So she goes to a trailer park home, she knocks the door, she beats up a suspect, she puts him in her trunk, and then she goes to the police station. There she goes for a briefing. The guy is still in the trunk, of course, because nothing makes sense in this episode. It's really bad. And then she tells her superior, it's Don Johnson, the protagonist is Regina King. She's very good. The acting is very good all over the place. I can tell you that. The production values are very high. So she tells her superior that I have a suspect. I beat up a suspect. He's in my trunk. Because I knew we'd round these people up. This, I don't know. Are we supposed to sympathize with the police? Because I really cannot. I mean, Come on. The guy is put in psychometrics evaluation that it's very weird. There are lights, there is a lot of mental torture, I guess, and of course he tells nothing, but the psychometrics show that yes, he's a supremacist, he's just hiding it. So our protagonist takes this guy, she beats him to a pulp in order to confess. I mean, the guy is probably dead because there's a closed door, there is some sounds of beating and some noises, and then there is a lake of blood coming out of the door. So he's beaten to a pulp and dead. And to be honest, the bad guys come up to be some folks who believe that the interdimensional squid in New York and the raining squids that keep curing as a natural event is a conspiracy. And we have read The Watchmen, the graphic novel, and we know it's a conspiracy. Okay, they believe it's the American government and not Andrew Wake, but you get the point. And they also believe that all people should pay taxes. And that's, I don't know, that's inconceivable, I guess. Next, they'll be asked to have their human rights respected by the police. And to be honest, with a police state like that, that is both out of control and unable to defend themselves, I tend to believe that they might be the good guys here. And that's not good if you want to do a show about sympathetic characters. I mean, the police officers are very unsympathetic. They feel like they're the villains in this one. And I guess this will come up later, because the trailer after the episode really looked interesting. So I'm watching the show. Either way, it can either be a train wreck or it can end up being a very good show, and all those plot holes will be resolved and they're in there for a purpose. And I predict it will be a little bit of both. So, going to the rest of the episode, the police raid the hideout of 7th Cavalry, and they are well equipped. They have a machine gun to cover their escape with an airplane, but of course they only have a machine gun, so when they have to reload, they have no other weapons to provide covering fire, so they're shot down, and their plane is shot out of the sky with a version of the old plane from the Watchmen comic book. And we also have Andrew Wake, who is presumably dead. He's played by Jeremy Irons, and he looks great for the role. And he lives in a castle in secret, and he has 2 genetically engineered servants, I guess, because they act weird. And I believe that he went from the genetically engineered links of the comic book to humans. And there are some other nods to Watchmen characters, such as Dr. Manhattan. He appears for a while, and there is even a TV show about the Minutemen and their life. At the end of the episode, the chief of police, Don Johnson, is found lynched, and this is an interesting hook because it calls back to the murder of the comedian, and it may or may not be the cavalry, but my guess is that it's the police officer with the mirror mask that's behind the murder, because, he looks the part. I don't think they will subvert the subversion it is often present today. And yes, the episode was all over the place. It looked very bad, and to be fair, you can expect that, because the main problem with any prequel or sequel of The Watchmen is that the writers will try to outsmart Alan Moore. They'll try to provide a deep, subvertive commentary on society and superhero comics. And Watchmen, while it is both deep and a subversion of superhero tropes, same as most of Alan Moore's work, is not made to be deep. Moore is not like, comic book writers like Neil Gaiman or Grant Morrison. These two are very deep. They strive to provide deep meaning, many layers of meaning to their comic books. And Moore is not that. Moore is a very talented, very intelligent guy who just has some interesting what-ifs. And he goes all the way to the end with his what-ifs. All the way. For instance, at surface level, Watchmen is a crime story. It's also a crime story in a world where superheroes existed, and he has world building that stems from this part that superheroes were real. They were vigilantes, like like the Fawcett heroes, like Atom and the Question, and there is a godlike being like Dr. Manhattan there, and this would change the course of history if he was real. And he follows this train of thought. The conclusion is ever good enough for a writer to offer us hints of who the murderer is in the first, I don't know, 20 panels. There is one detail early on, I think it's in the first page, that if you read the book to the end and you see this little detail, say, oh god, it's there. It's amazing. This guy is amazing. His writing is amazing. Yes, Alan Moore was great, but he was great because he could tell a good story in most of his books, an interesting story, and just add complexity to it. He wouldn't start with, oh, I will subvert everything about superhero comics. That's why in the 90s he went from Before Vendetta and Watchmen to more light-hearted comic books like Tom Strong and Supreme. And one reason I like the admittedly very tone-deaf movie from 10 years ago, the Zack Snyder movie, is that one movie focused on the crime story and the intrigue, the adventure, and the characters. And yes, it screwed up a lot of the nuisance of the original, but it was enjoyable. It kept part of what made Watchmen as a classic work of fiction, and if it can substitute a first reading of the graphic novel, because Watchmen really shines after repeated readings, and they make Watchmen more enjoyable. And this one tries too hard to be Watchmen, and it sets the bar way too high. The first episode seems like there is no way it will reach the bar, let alone jump over it. My opinion is this series will be crashing down and will be a hilarious train wreck. And that's the reason I want to watch it. So I would like to hear your opinions about the Watchmen, the first episode in the HBO series. Do you like it or not? Do you think that the murderer is the police officer with a mirror mask, or do you think it's someone else? And are you planning to watch the series, or will you just skip it? I'd love to hear your opinions. If you're interested in more reviews for Watchmen and lots of other geeky stuff, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can like this video, maybe share it if you think it was interesting, and I'll see you soon with another video. Thank you for listening.